today I had the privilege of having Jennifer DiMotta on the show. You'll want to take a listen to this episode because she offers perspective around how she unlocks leverage in the businesses that she works with. And that just means that she finds things that are opportunities to help companies grow and scale. You don't want to miss this episode. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is Cara Kirsch, the host of the Ignite Women in Business and Insurance podcast. We are so excited to have finally some spring weather in Nebraska, and it's not freezing. I think we had a 100-degree temperature shift over the last week, so that's always a good time too. I'm really excited today because I have a new guest on the show, and her name is Jennifer DiMotta. She is the managing partner and founder of Uprisors Growth Partners. Good morning, Jennifer.
Hello.
How are you?
So good.
Good.
Yeah.
And you have a full day today.
I do.
Full day of changing the world.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just a little backstory for our guests before you tell about yourself or you share about yourself is like how we met and how we're like birds of a feather. So make sure you weave that in. So tell us about yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You are my twin. I love it. Yeah, so I am actually originally from Nebraska. I grew up here. I went to high school here. I graduated from college here. I had a kid here. And then I got a little bored and I went off into the world for 18 years, several different places on the East Coast and Denver. I went to Munich, Germany. All of that was to work around the world and grow businesses. And I had a blast. So I'd go into a business, I'd grow a business for a couple of years, build a team, build a strategy, build a financial plan, get it to a point where it was rocking and rolling, and then I'd go on to my next opportunity. And that was just too fun. Along the way, I got married. And then 2.5 years ago, we just decided to move back, you know.
Remind me, is your husband from here?
No. He's a New Yorker.
Oh, yeah. Although, yeah, I remember because we had this conversation about the pizza. Remember when he said, oh, I'm going to get this in your life.
Oh, picky.
He'll know.
Oh, he'll know. No. There's only one type of pizza he likes here.
Yes. What is it, Dios?
No. Virtuoso.
Virtuoso.
Yeah.
Hey.
Which is down in Benson. It's the kid of the Los Solomio were the parents, and then their kid opened up that pizza place. He loves that pizza.
Oh.
He doesn't mind Williamsburg pizza either. It's I think it's more Bronx. Like I can't remember. I don't remember. Anyway, he's very picky with pizza. Is the point?
Yes.
And so yeah, it's funny because my parents are good old Omaha Midwesterners that love Godfathers and all that good stuff. So we always have to get 2 different types of pizza when we get together. But I came back a couple years ago. I'm really glad I did. Omaha's just gotten so great. It's just an awesome place to live for every reason. That's part of the reason why showing up is, number one place to live from, I don't know, USA Today or whatever those rankings are. And so I'm really glad that we did move back. But we moved back partly because parents, which I'm so glad because I spent 18 years maybe visiting my parents twice a year, but now I pretty much see them every week, which is great. And then also just great cost of living. Still, the entertainment's gotten really good. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff to do. A lot of great women.
A lot of
great women.
Ooh.
Yep.
A lot of great women. Well, that's how our journeys crossed, like, in terms of getting your education here, because I got mine here, and then I flew away. Yeah. And went to LA and San Francisco, and then back to San Francisco. And I love California so much, but I'll never leave Omaha now for many reasons. One is because, like you said, everything is here. Yeah. And I feel like people are so welcoming. And I've never had anyone say they wouldn't help me. They might not be able to do it exactly as I desire, but everyone's willing to let me help you. Yep. And I love that. And my kids are here, my grandbaby's here, and my parents are here. And I see my parents, except for right now because they're in Destin, and I'm ready for them to come home. My mom comes home tomorrow. So I'm itching to get her back here. I miss her so much. But I loved your background. And when you shared your stories, just of the way you show up in business and the fact that you're your authentic self, I think is something that I really want our listeners to hear from this conversation, because authentic women who are like us often are labeled as things that aren't so pleasant.
No.
And so talk a little bit about how you stay true to your authenticity in terms of your desire to build wealth and lead and be a founder.
Yeah. And if you are kind of like us, where we're very raw, we're very real, we work really hard, we're very supportive and loyal to basically anyone around us. We'll do whatever it takes. But we're also pretty assertive in reality.
Yeah.
And I've always been that way. As my mother says, I popped out that way. And it's really works against my whole family. I'm very much a black sheep. I have 3 brothers. My mother and my father were very content with their sort of, 9-to-5 jobs, if you will. And my brothers, are pretty content in that same space. And here's the only, daughter in the family saying, I'm never content.
Right.
I want to constantly get better. I want to constantly grow. I enjoy that. It's passion. It's the fire I have. I also want to turn around and help founders and CEOs grow. I'm really good at getting real. I'm really good at unlocking leverage. I'm one of those people that's not trying to go help a CEO and founder find the next shiny penny, but instead look inside the business and unlock the leverage that's trapped inside that business, which 99.9% of the time, first of all, there is that leverage. And secondly, I can find it. I was just talking to a gal this morning and she said, you're kind of like, you're working with these founders who, it's kind of like the pickle jar effect. They're sitting inside the pickle jar and they can't read the label on the outside. And you're there to read the label for them. And I said, yeah, you're exactly right. At the end of the day, I think what I find is a lot of the basics. How do we create brilliance around basics and stuff like that for CEOs and founders? But I come in with a raw and a very real attitude. And I think some people really enjoy that. And then some people, it takes a little while to get used to that, right? It's not always the easiest thing to interact with at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would anticipate that once you unlock it, they become more comfortable with your approach.
Yes.
Because they're unlocked. They can see things in a different way. And I think for us, at least for me, and I think you're like this too, it's like when we come into a situation to figure out a problem, we don't have any feelings about the fact of that there is a problem or that someone, even the person we're talking to, may have created it. I would give a shit less.
That's right.
That's right. And I can't often understand why other people can't see a problem and be unafraid to go to their leaders and say, hey, I met this new person. She has insight into this. I've discovered that we missed something. I'd like to have her come and take a look at it for us. Instead of, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I missed it. We can't profess ourselves to know everything about everything. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times I find myself coaching my buyer to be unafraid to lead. Right. Hey, this is your responsibility. No one ever thought you would know everything.
Right.
But now that you do, what are you going to do with that information?
Yeah.
And so
it always boggled my mind how people get real stuck on the who's to blame.
Yeah.
Who's the problem. It's like, this is just not where we need to focus.
I agree.
We find a problem, that means we find an opportunity. It's the same thing. It's 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
And I'm always excited when I find problems because that becomes opportunity. And a lot of times problems are the ones that exist internally. Well, the great thing there is the opportunity is probably not going to cost a lot, or to be able to turn it into an opportunity doesn't cost as much. If you've got to work outside your business to go find opportunities to grow, that's where the cost starts to really add up.
Oh, yeah.
But internal holes, they are real opportunities. They are highly efficient and really do, you really can see growth from fixing those or using those as opportunities.
I've always viewed those as opportunities.
Yeah.
But inside the walls of large companies I've worked in, you know, people are like, well, don't tell my boss that happened. And I'm like, wait a minute. I want your boss to know so that you can be more supported in your role. Don't you want to be more supported in your role? That's my mindset. And the person's like, no, I don't want anyone to know. And I just find that because I want to find the problem and also build confidence in someone else standing up to say, oh, yeah, no big deal. Let's fix it. But people aren't like that. And so that goes back to, well, Cara's, you know, fill in the adjective that's unpleasant. And I'm so over that.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is me. And for the first time in a long time, and I shared this with you through our many coffees, is like, I feel my authentic self coming out. And even this week when we had lunch and you were like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And I'm not afraid to not know. But when you ask me, I'm like, shit, I don't know. I don't know. How am I going to learn? And so
Such a relieving
it's
phrase.
such, yeah.
Say, I don't know.
Right.
That's
Yes,
totally
because
cool.
then the person can help you.
Opens the door.
Yes.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah. Talk about one of your favorite experiences you've had professionally where someone got unlocked.
Yeah. Well, I would say, okay, there's two favorite experiences I've had, and they both taught me a couple different things. So one is at the very beginning of my career. Okay, I'm a single mom. I'm living in a really gross apartment, roach infested. This is all I can afford, by the way, you know, and I've got a baby.
Yeah.
So I got a 1-year-old. I get a new job and I start this new job and I'm super excited. And I find out real quickly the people around me. I'm an account manager for outbound telemarketing company. I find out the people around me very quickly don't like the fact that I got this job. I'm too young. I'm too inexperienced. So what do I get? I get the shit accounts.
Yeah.
I get the accounts that are failing that basically I'm put on the chopping block from day one, essentially. Well, here's what happens. I work really hard and I look inside those accounts. I mean, I'm there for hours looking at deep levels of detail, and I essentially turn all these accounts around. And I do it in a very short period of time. So all I wanted to do was get my head down and do my job really well. And I ended up doing that great. However, I remember my boss called me in and he said, listen, you did amazing with these accounts. I don't know what the heck you did, but you turned these accounts around and I want to figure your secret sauce out just a little bit more. However, everybody around you doesn't like you. I was too much.
Yeah.
It was just too much.
It's a staple of my life.
Yep, staple. Now, I can tell you that a little bit of that is just the fact that there's jealousy and that's a reality and you have to let that roll right off your back.
Totally.
On some level. The other part is I was young and I always loved to learn and optimize myself where I think it's best to optimize myself. I have boundaries on that. But he gave me the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And I went through that book. That book is huge, by the way, in 2 days. I was in love with that book. Mm-hmm. And I took a level up. So even though, you know, we do stand on the fact that you should be real, you should believe in yourself, you should know who you are and stand on that. The other side of me is I do like to grow and learn. And this was such a good opportunity. I did such a great thing, but I didn't do it in the absolute best way I could have. Mm-hmm. So be me, but be a better me. And that was a really big for me in my career. It just made me see how important other things were, like building relationships and such. Mm-hmm. And then further down in my career, I was very successful helping CEOs and founders grow businesses. Very successful. I was continuously improving my playbook from business to business to business. Mm-hmm. And I got to the 5th business, and it was Sports Authority. Many people know Sports Authority. And I come in, and the e-commerce unit was about 50 million for the 4th year in a row. And it was dragging on the profit. It was negative profit, really. And they really didn't know how to grow this business. They had no idea how to unlock this business. And while I don't focus on shiny pennies or anything. They had a lot of opportunities on the inside for me to leverage to unlock this business. But it took work, and it took me building a vision, a strategy, a team. But the other side of it is that I needed to not only figure out how to grow this business, I had to figure out how to develop the entire organization to live in the next era of retail, which is more of an omni-channel era. So it's just a massive opportunity for me to take my experience and not just develop a business, but develop an entire organization's mental state to be able to live and survive in the future. And it was just so much fun.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people around here probably don't know Sports Authority. I only know it because it's in California.
Yeah.
And I don't know where their headquarters are. I assume
they're out of business now, but they're in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember them well because they were there when I was there. But one of the things that you talked about was this turning, business around. And I remember when you shared that with me the very first time we met, because that was also a parallel that we had. I was hired into a role, and shortly after I was hired into the role, there was a layoff. And I was the lowest person, but I didn't get laid off. And then they gave me all these at-risk accounts. And I didn't know they were at risk until I got to the sales meeting, and all the logos for the clients they had given me were on the board. It's like, these are going to fire us. And I'm like, no, they're not on my watch. And I did exactly as you did. I got super under the hood.
Yeah.
And I just I spent hours with them every week. Like, what do you do for this? Okay, how does this work? Why is this not working? And then I would take all of that intel back to my company and with a team of people around me say, here's where the pain is. What can we do? And they're like, well, if they would be willing to change this, that pain would go away. And we did that. And it worked. I mean, it was like butter. Wow. And it really taught me a lot about spending time listening so that you can find the right solution.
Yep.
And now that I'm a founder, I think I do that even more. But I have to challenge myself because I like to talk, right? Just like everyone does. And so being quiet and just listening and not getting ahead of yourself is something I'm working on every single day.
Yeah.
Because you learn more when you listen.
You do. You learn more when you ask questions. You're right. I have had to learn that myself because you and I are very similar that way. Mm-hmm. And I'm a statement maker, not a question giver. So I've had to learn to, step back, ask questions, listen to the answers, let it drive more questions. Don't be too quick to make statements.
Yeah. And I use silence as my friend in those regards. And I coached others in my role to use silence. Don't be afraid of silence. It's okay for us to say, if someone makes a big statement or a big comment, we can say interesting and nothing. Because the silence will cause someone to say something, and it doesn't have to be us.
That's right.
Because likely the other person's going to get nervous and start telling you things that you didn't know that you need to know. Yeah. So I use silence a lot as an opportunity, and a tactic I use when I'm in person, even when I'm on the phone, is I'll write. So if I can feel myself getting ready to solve something, I'll start writing down, how would this look? What about this? While they're talking. That way I don't interrupt them. And I also am listening. It's a very just good tactic that I started. I think I started it during COVID. COVID was a very educational year for me because I had time. And so I read a ton. I listened to a ton of podcasts about leadership, business, growing business, beating the trends in business in terms of close ratio and time to close and those kinds of things. And it worked. And still to this day it does. Well, there's nothing fancy about it. Well, it's all about attention, listening, follow through, those good things. So, and I try to share it as much as I can with other women because we don't learn that. We don't learn how to hunt.
No.
And I love the hunt.
Yes. You do love the
I love more than that. Tell us about how you approach innovation, branding, growth. What do you work with when you work with people? So after you unlock, how do you inspire them to want to create the next thing?
Yeah. So we've been through that with a couple clients, and I've also been through that on the inside when I operated businesses. Again, I think a lot of opportunity lives within a business, and I sometimes will end up spending a good couple years on just that opportunity. Not that I'm not focused on what is the next innovative thing, how do we stay ahead, such as AI or whatnot,
Right.
because I was in the world of e-commerce. I was the ahead. I was actually the ahead thing that was going back to the basics and making sure we were not wild, wild west in e-com. And that's the danger of innovation, is being too wild, wild west, unregulated, and thinking that you should throw a bunch of money down on something that may or may not have a return. So I'm very big on focusing on the basics to get the big growth out of the companies. And some of the basics really are leveraging people possibly a little bit differently or a little bit more. People are busy, and that's not leverage at all. That's actually loss of leverage. Where you've got to look at people as, where are their superpowers? Where can you apply more of their strengths and reduce their weaknesses? Are they in the right seat on the bus in the reality? Where are your gaps in your team? Can you fill the gaps with the current people, or do you need to fill the gaps on the outside? And that's not just from a functional expertise point of view, but that's from all things behaviorally. Who's risk averse, who's, risk prone, and you need a balance of both.
Who's hoarding information that's keeping who from understanding what's going on because they're afraid that if they gave it out, then they're going to be at risk for their job.
And there's one in every business that I work with right now.
Yeah.
Who isn't spending the time on strategy when that's essentially their role?
Right.
Who is not looking up, who is always looking down, who is not working with their peers effectively enough. That's a very big deal. Is a team will arguably achieve a hell of a lot more than individuals will. Even so, when I look at a team, there's a lot of teams I can think of with our clients right now. Lots of individual talent, team not so much. These are all things like I work on at the end of the day. Operational
the
rhythms.
functionality of that team, though, is driven by the leader? Like the culture of the team
a little
is driven by the
bit.
leader? Yeah, I do. I think, and especially coming out of
you can
a lot of teams.
Yeah. You can unlock quite a bit by pulling the leader aside and seeing if they can operate differently in order to expose what the team's strengths really are.
Right.
Then you get an opportunity to see if the team is the right team.
Right.
There's also usually a problem type child in every team that's being a little bit coddled by the founder or the CEO. That's a blind spot. It's usually something that's sensitive, and I have to take a little more time, but it's almost always the case. It might be like the first person who joined the company.
Right.
Who's
gotten lazy.
Yep. 5 years later, and in the beginning, they were very high value. They've really lost a lot of value as time goes on because they're struggling with the fact there's more team members around them, and then they need to either shape up or ship out.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's, again, back to this whole, there's no emotion in that.
No.
Get the right people on the bus. And I love to follow Nick Saban and some of his leadership style, because I would believe that if I were a football player and I were lucky enough to play at Alabama with him, that would have been a very good environment for me, because high performers don't love low performers and low performers don't love high performers.
Correct.
And he builds a ship that has people who are all rowing in the correct direction.
Yep.
Or I shouldn't even say correct, but in the winning direction, because that's what he wants to do.
I'm a big people first fan. Most people that have worked for me know that. It's people, you get that right, and everything else gets 1,000 times easier, whether it's operations, strategy, vision, any of it. Everything is easier once you got the people part right. And including yourself, right? If you are the leader, you have to get, and the reality is there is no emotion on our side. And that's actually a good thing, because we can be the steady one. But there is emotion on the founder's side. They get very emotional about, you call out a team member, you call out one of their operational rhythms, you call out one of their strategies. And you have to do it with a lot of sensitivity because they're so close to it. It's their baby in the end that they have a hard time. So that's just that's a superpower I have created for myself because I know that I am emotionless about things.
Yeah.
I look at everything as an opportunity. It could be a burning fire and I'm like, ooh, that's an opportunity.
Right.
And that I know the other side is freaking out at the beginning and we need to earn trust with each other. I need to earn trust with that person so that when I say something, they know it's not a jab at them. It is, you know what, this is good. This could be the way that we help grow your business from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
Reality.
You mentioned a really important word, and that's trust. And building trust with people is something I have to do all the time.
Yep.
And I kind of go back to 2020 in just learning how to do that differently and more authentically.
Yeah.
So as I listen to other leaders and how they build trust with prospective clients and their colleagues, that was something that I did repeatedly. And sometimes you're dealing with people who have such a jaded sense of loyalty that they can never trust.
Yep.
And I will admit that I'm jaded in some ways and cynical, but it's something I'm really trying not to be because it doesn't serve me. No, it doesn't do it's not going to help me grow the business.
Right.
And so even this week I had a call with a woman and she reached out to me to have a meeting. And when we got talking about what we could do together as a first step, she got sort of, tightened up. And I said, she said, well, I'm going to tell you something vulnerable. And I'm like, okay. And she said, I'm scared that you're going to find something that I didn't know. And I said, I love it that you were able to.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And we are going to find something. And so let's work together to build trust so that you can be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I'm never going to throw you under the bus when we find that thing.
Yeah.
It's a partnership.
Right.
Together, we're going to find it. We're going to have a solution for it. And that's how we'll present it to your leaders.
Well, here's the thing with trust is, especially with us, right? We are advisor, consultant, whatever if you will. And then we're talking to potentially someone on the inside that's operating the business. And in order for it to create trust between two things like that, there's number one, we might start out with our credibility factors. I
Resume a million times.
Yes.
And just trust me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that helps. That sort of starts to unlock a little bit. But where the biggest unlock is who are you as a person and how can you prove that as quickly as possible? And so if you can prove that as quickly as possible by saying, well, let's do this together. Let's look through this together. Let's figure out, even if we do find a problem, to really sort it out and figure out what the real opportunity looks like, because the problem is not the focus.
Right.
The focus is the opportunity that I just unlocked.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah. And so the other thing is just goes back to what we originally talked about is who are we as people? If people feel like you're living your authentic self, that's one of the first signs of trust. If you appear like you're just trying to put on a mask or trying to look great and you're not really being yourself, well, how are people supposed to trust you? Because you're already coming across false.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you just come across like, hey, I'm Cara.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing to meet you. I want to learn more about you. And you're just talking the way you would normally talk to a friend, your mom, anything. People can feel that. And I think that's kind of creates the biggest bridge from, I don't know if I should trust you to, okay, now I'm beginning to trust you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in my business, I shared this with you. Every prospective client meeting I've had so far since I launched, they've been lied to in some regard. And so I asked a group of people at my past speaking engagements over the last couple of weeks, how do you want me to tell you were lied to?
Mm.
And some of the people in the room, all three times when I asked, they said, just tell us. And the others were like, no, be careful when you tell us, be gentle when you tell us. And so that's something I've really had to sit with, because that's the reason they should work with me. But I know that's not how the deal gets closed.
Right.
Me identifying a problem has nothing to do with their relationships, whether they're open to the problem, whether they are open to a change, all of the other things that go into the closing of a deal.
Yeah.
And so first I have to step back and learn those things and teach. Part of my role is really, I'm a really good teacher. I can break concepts down really well and have C-suite level individuals who don't deal with benefits all the time say, I didn't know that.
You and I are a lot alike like that.
I think that's how we build trust.
Yeah.
Is that people, once they start to listen to us, they're like, oh, wait a minute. She's just a regular gal that's trying to make us better.
Yeah.
And once they can get to that, it's on.
Yeah.
Then the fun starts.
That's right. I say a lot of, I'll be honest with you. I say a lot of times, it's okay. We can figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll say it a lot in a team meeting with a 101. It's totally okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And just to get that first anxiousness a little eased in their minds. And then I say, you know what? I'm willing to sit shoulder to shoulder with you to figure out exactly how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They're like,
oh, great. It's fine because I say, I'm standing right here with you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to leave your side.
Right. Yeah.
Until we get through it.
Yeah.
And I believe that matters. And I think people don't say that.
It does.
I don't think that people, especially my peer group across the industry, they don't say that.
Yeah.
Now, they can't steal it from me after listening to this because that's right. It's going to know it's disingenuine. But
well, the other thing is that if you take the time, you know, people say things, but we got to remember that 80% of what we say is through body language, facial expressions. So if you take the time to really read body language, you will figure out what people need from you. Some people are all in. They're like, I'm ready.
Hi.
They're not bothered at all that you're pointing out the problems. They want to help. They're nodding their head. They get it. It's unemotional for them too. Those guys can move a little bit faster, and you don't need to spend as much shoulder to shoulder time with them. You just need to show that you're supporting them and let them go. And then the other ones that are like, oh gosh, I don't know. This is a lot of, broken stuff I'm going to have to be involved with. This just adds more, work to my plate, and I'm already busy and blah, blah, blah. Hey, it's okay. Yeah, we'll work through it.
We'll work together to
tiny pieces. Let's take small steps.
Yeah.
And you just have to pay attention to people's body language. They will tell you exactly what they need.
Yeah. Well, let's pivot for a minute and talk a little bit about your community. So since you've been back in Omaha, talk a little bit, maybe just for a couple of minutes, about the community that you're building and how that's going and what fills your bucket around that.
Yeah. And you know what? I was actually kind of nervous coming back to Omaha and trying to figure out if I was going to be able to reintegrate back into this community, because I left when I was 31. I was a nobody, didn't know a whole lot of people either. Plus, I'm a single mom. I don't got time to do networking and all that stuff. Yep. Like,
I'm not golfing.
Yeah. And I honestly never did really find, other than in businesses, which I made a lot of great friends when I was in the businesses, I never found a good community. So I was a little nervous, like, is Omaha just going to be another Florida or Virginia or whatever? And no, it's been exactly the opposite from some of the things you said, but also some of the efforts I've chosen to make. I've made more effort here than I have in all the other places, if I'm being honest with myself.
Well, yes.
So I had more time. Yeah, I'm not a single mom. I'm still a mom, obviously. Well, yeah, but I have it. She'll be 30.
Yeah.
2 months.
Right.
So I got more time. I'm also clearly more comfortable in Omaha. And, well, it took a few months because we needed to get settled, my husband and I, here.
Yeah.
I cannot believe I've only been here 2.5 years, and I have made a ton of friends and colleague friends.
Yeah.
Like, I can pull on them for both reasons. Let's just go hang out, or I really need to talk through a business problem with you.
Yeah.
And it's just women everywhere. Mm-hmm. Lots and lots of wonderful women like you, willing to support, willing to talk, willing to just hang out and have a coffee, do lunch.
Yeah, maybe travel.
Yeah, travel. That's right. Dustin.
Yeah.
Dustin Bell.
Yes.
And that's actually true because I have another girlfriend and we're going to Japan. And I've always wanted to do like more women trips.
Me too.
And I just,
It's hard to build that community though, because they say, guys, you have 3 minute, 3 hour, and 3 day friends. Have you heard this analogy?
oh no, but I
And so,
already love it.
yeah. So a 3 day friend is someone that you can go on a weekend trip with and you don't get on one another's nerves.
Yeah.
And, the rest is pretty easy to comprehend.
Yes.
But I do think that it's interesting because my circle is expanding in different ways than it has before. And sometimes I feel like an imposter, even in your presence, because I'm like, she's so established and she's so distinguished and she's accomplished so much. And I often forget, like, but wait a minute, Cara, yeah, you've accomplished some stuff too. And so it's checking that insecurity.
Yeah.
And being like, no, this person doesn't want something from you. They just want to be with you.
Yeah.
But that's not something we're grown up to understand.
Correct.
And so it's something that I'm continuously leaning into. And even, this past time I got Taylor, I'm like, well, let's go for a walk. Let's do something not the normal.
Right.
Let's just text me on a Saturday. And if I'm free, we can go meet somewhere.
Right.
So, well, as we wrap up today, why don't you share with us your favorite book right now?
I'm going to share my husband's cousin, Carrie Carbonaro, wrote Women and Wealth. I'm about halfway through it. And it's excellent because it really talks about the gender gap of wealth, not the wage gap,
Right.
but the wealth gap. And she's a
Gender gap still exists.
it still exists. She's well known in this industry, but what she does very well in this book, Women and Wealth, is she breaks it down to make it easy for any of us to truly understand and then really do something with.
Yeah.
So I'm excited because she's coming to see us in May here in Omaha.
Can't
so
wait.
I get to show
So
her
excited.
Omaha. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And where can people find you?
Yeah, feel free to go to Dundee, DUNDEE. And if you're listening from Omaha, you know what Dundee means. DundeeGP.com. Or just reach out to me, Jennifer, at DundeeGP.com.
And on LinkedIn.
And on LinkedIn.
And easy. Follow her on LinkedIn. She'll offer you some of the operators tips, which I love. And so you could follow those and track along with her and get some of her content, and absolutely reach out if you are someone that could benefit from all of the great work that she's doing. But I just want to say thank you for being on today. Thank you for growing this friendship with me.
Yes.
Thank you for showing up for me. And I can't tell you how much I think of you as just the world. So
Right back at you, girl.
all right. Well, thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks so much to Jennifer for being on the show today. If you could, don't forget to like and subscribe our episode and our show and share it with your friends.